We interrupt your daily programming. For this mess, please stand by for doodles.
So back in 2019 I made some fun art of the main characters from the Heathers. It wasn't the greatest, and since the musical has been making its way around my feed, I thought I would revisit it. My first attempt wasn't exactly what I wanted, and I was really new to digital art. And I wanted to do this better this time around, starting with Heather McNamara. I wanted to bring more of her sunshine character elements back into her design, as well as give her more of a cheerleader shape and look. McNamara is actually my favorite Heather and characters in the musical. I feel like I can relate to her the most. She's one of the more innocent characters in the story of West Cherbourg High. Although no one in the story is really truly innocent other than maybe Martha. Heather McNamara, I feel, is the most innocent among the Heathers. At the start of the show, Heather Chandler and Veronica Sawyer make their deal. She has a bubbly and dipsy personality. But she also has a bit of a morbid sense of humor. Yet unlike Heather Duke, we never really see Heather Chandler belittle her as much as she does Duke, giving the sense that her and Chandler are actually friends. By the time we hear the song Tiniest Lifeboat, we get a look into how the kids of West Cherbourg are affected by the deaths in the story. And personally, this is where I can relate to Heather McNamara the most. Heather McNamara didn't just lose her status as one of the most popular kids in school. She also lost a friend. She also lost someone she could see every day, and now she sees everyone suddenly dying around her. Even if she wasn't the smartest or the most charismatic girl in school, Heather McNamara is still human. She is still hurting and affected by the events around her. And her other friend that she thought she was close to is now suddenly destroying everyone around her because she is not being checked by a bigger bully. McNamara at this point is clinging to the life that she thought she had. Me and McNamara in real life are probably complete opposites. I wasn't a cheerleader, I didn't have many friends, and I wasn't popular in the slightest. But still, personally, I can relate to her. Not just from the loss I've experienced, but also the sudden shift into adulthood was a jarring one. I was around the same age as McNamara when I suddenly realized that I needed to grow up, and I needed to do it quickly. Otherwise the world around me would eat me alive. Yet I wasn't ready to experience the things I did, and without the guidance I needed the most. I was very lost at sea, similar to McNamara. In today's world, I feel like the Tiniest Lifeboat really reflects how today's youth have to deal with things such as school shootings, political radicals, and ultimately religious control over a country that claims to be the freest. Afraid to even speak up. Afraid to take control of the boat that's guiding their life. Because the wrong move can easily push you over the edge. Or worse, you could take someone else out with you. By saying the wrong thing, by wearing the wrong outfit, or just being friends with the wrong kind of people. Heather McNamara needed someone to be a better friend to her. I feel like she's one of the few characters who could have been really redeemed in the end. Heather Duke. Head of the yearbook committee, Veronica describes her as someone with no discernible personality. But as we see in the song Never Shut Up Again, Heather Duke is actually very opinionated. Normally shut down by Chandler, with the most memorable "Shut Up, Heather," followed by "Sorry, Heather." I drew Duke with her fingers crossed behind her back to show her two-faced nature, as well as the symbol for hoping for luck. I also gave her a ladybug brooch in her headband in this redraw, as a symbol that she does still have the same opportunities as Chandler, yet they are easily overlooked. I see Duke as the type of person giving all the opportunities as the person next to them, but always passed over for some reason. Duke is just as pretty, just as smart, and just as cunning as Heather Chandler. Yet due to her submissiveness, she bends the knee to Heather Chandler anytime being confronted with a challenge. But just like Veronica, Duke sees her opportunity right around the corner after high school. The minute she can escape the hellhole that is her life, she might find opportunities outside of West Cherbourg. This is why I feel like she's apprehensive of allowing Veronica to join their friend group. Not because she dislikes Veronica, I feel like she may actually already know her and may have been friends with her in the past. But she does see those similarities and she feels replaceable. Duke is one of those kinds of girls you see in school who mirrors their friends, especially the one who is the leader of the pack. wanting so desperately to have that power but not sure how to wield it. In the end, just becoming a yes man. The minute Heather Chandler is out of the picture, Duke decides to fill in that perfect shape that she fits. Almost as if it was already made for her. And honestly, no one can really blame her for taking the opportunity by the reins. For the final Heather Chandler, I decided to change to hers and Veronica's poses and placements the most. Heather Chandler is the ideal girl in someone's book. But to most who don't remember high school, well, she's who you imagine as your classic mean girl or bully. Chandler, even in death or as the haunted memory that Veronica envisions of her, is seen as that bully. When I first listened to the soundtrack for the musical, I wasn't sure if we as the listeners were to suspend belief that the ghost of Heather Chandler was actually haunting Veronica. Yet what I assumed the actual interpretation was to mean that the ghosts in the stories were to me similar symbolization as the ghost in A Christmas Carol. That being each ghost representing past, future and present in order to teach Veronica and the audience a lesson. Or I could be just overthinking the story and the ghosts are just there to represent Veronica's guilty conscience. Either way, Chandler is still dead in the end. When someone you know in school suddenly dies, whether you're close to them or not, it kinda shakes the foundation of the school. As we can see with all the students of West Cherbourg High. I drew Heather Chandler, waving to someone unseen. And she is completely facing away from the audience because even though everyone in the story wants to act as if they knew her well, we don't really know Heather Chandler. But no one really did, not even her friends. And last but not least, Veronica and JD. I decided to add JD to this piece because not only being one of the main cast, he's part of the motivation for Veronica's actions in the musical. 17 is where we see Veronica at her most vulnerable. Although she said and shown that desperately wants her placement on the social totem pole of her high school to be better or even just recognized by those in her eyes, cooler than her. Like Martha, she's still a teenager wanting to just hopelessly fall in love and have the teenage dream any kid her age would want. And maybe JD can give that to her. Yet just like with Heather Chandler, Veronica and the audience don't really know JD. From the story and the song Freeze Your Brain, we know JD is a deeply hurt kid with dark issues that at the time was being failed by any adult in their life. 17 is the dream that Veronica and JD want to live. But being 17 isn't all jiffy pop and high school dance. Sometimes emotions run so high that they blow the roof off the fantasy, and end up just being a pile of rubble of broken dreams. I had a lot of fun recreating this fanart and exploring these characters in a more thoughtful way. I changed a lot from my original work to hopefully show how I see each of the main cast. All of my opinions in this work are just opinions on the musical. I really enjoy the soundtrack and hope to one day see it live. A few things I would do differently if I ever revisit this art is maybe taking my time on it parts. Like with Veronica and JD. I feel like I didn't give myself enough time to think it out. I put a lot of thought into this, but by the end I was just ready for it to be over. I also would have done Heather Chandler's ghost better, but again I drew her last, so I think that's when I started to feel burned out on this. Hope you all enjoyed my interpretations. And until next time, stay pretty kitties.